Pogba's man of the match display against Germany at the Euros has reignited the conversation, the Pogba that plays for France and the Pogba that plays for Manchester United. I'll be looking at the different tactical approaches of United and France and how they affect Pogba's performance, both with and without the ball. Let's go to the whiteboard. The biggest criticism of Pogba when playing for United is how poor he is without the ball in terms of work rate and tactical discipline. But why does he struggle in this aspect of the game in a United shirt? Playing in a double pivot for United, he has a bigger area of influence to deal with and has to cover longer distances to shut the ball down with a press and tracking runners off the ball. This is where his lack of work rate and lack of ability to sniff out danger from this position gets found out. Going to screenshots of the Europa League final against Villarreal, the ball has been played up to Bakker, which has pulled Bailly out of the defensive line, opening this space up. McTominay is in a decent position, ready to cover in behind Bailly, but Pogba is too far away from McTominay, leaving Trigueros free with this space in front of him to attack. Pogba should be here to engage Trigueros, stopping him from attacking this space. Because he doesn't, Lindelof gets pulled across to engage Trigueros, leaving short in a 2-on-1. Despite Pogba seeing this unfold, he hasn't moved an inch in the middle of the park to attempt to influence this situation. But France play and defend in a much different way that really helps Pogba. Against the Germans, Pogba played on the right of a midfield three. Playing in a wider role means he can use the touchline as an extra defender, and this reduces the multi-directional way he is expected to play without the ball. It's more up and down and tucking inside, opposed to the all-action, full-pitch coverage that Kante provides in that central role. Alongside this, with Pogba playing in a midfield three, it reduces the amount of pitch he is responsible for, making his defensive responsibilities far more manageable. Going to a screenshot of the game against the Germans, we can see how much less labour-intensive playing in a three is for Pogba. The back four have Germany's forward line lined up, but in midfield, Rabiot has engaged the ball and Kante has moved across to take the spear man, which is what Pogba should have done in the United example. But throughout the French team, they are relentless in defending their clean sheet and trying to win the ball back. Out of possession, the wide forwards for France will drop back into wide defensive positions, and the central forward will put pressure on the ball from the front. This is a situation every team that plays France finds themselves in. Going to screenshots of the Germany game, with Rudiger on the ball, we can see how Griezmann has dropped back into the right back position, and how Mbappe is dropping back with Kimmich. The amount of players behind the ball takes away Pogba having to read defensive situations and make decisions. All he has to do is hold his position and press the ball when it's in his area. With the ball, the double pivot role at United and the wider role for France again determines how effective Pogba is. When Pogba plays in the double pivot for United, he's not comfortable receiving the ball facing his own goal. From this position, he hasn't got peripheral vision of the pitch, and from the blind side, too often, he is easily dispossessed. When Pogba is facing the opposition's goal with the ball, this is what he is faced with: a defensive block, shadow marking the forwards, making it difficult to play forward penetrating passes. Combine this with United's usual static front line, his creative influence is reduced. From this position, Pogba's most productive pass is a long switch out to the flanks, but nothing that gets United in behind the opposition's defensive structure. When playing for France, receiving the ball in a wider area means he receives the ball on the half turn and immediately has a viewpoint of the attacking third. Receiving the ball in these areas also gives Pogba a better sight of the forward passing options for France, because he is able to see around the midfield defensive line and pick out more penetrating passes. Going to screenshots of the Germany game, Varane has played the ball out to Pogba, who has instantly opened his body up to face Germany's goal. From here, we can see how he is able to see around Germany's midfield defensive structure and pick a pass either around it or inside it. And of course, he got into a similar position for France's goal, where he picked a lovely ball out for Fernandes. So, with all this in mind, what can Oli do to try and get more out of Pogba? The top option is to change the formation to a 4-3-3. If Ollie was to do that, United would need a top 6 to play in that single pivot role. For me, it would have to be Rice or Phillips. Basuma, who I picked as a potential signing in my United 11 video, in my opinion, would not be as effective in a single pivot role, particularly without the ball. Alongside this, it would mean moving Fernandes from the 10 position into a deeper midfield role. Based on his United form, is Pogba worth it? The Devils' verdict is, despite the quality Pogba has, he isn't right for United, and United aren't right for him. This Manchester United side are nowhere near as good as the French national team, or as good as the Juventus team Pogba played in. He hasn't got the same level of players around him that he needs for him to produce his best. He has never been the heartbeat of any of the teams he has played in, and needs that quality assurance around him. Let me know in the comments what you want to see happen with Pogba. Thank you for watching, and please like, subscribe and share, and I'll see you in the next video.